my name is Marsden Awori, as you have just mentioned. I'm a co-founder, director of Raise on Schools, but I'm also an entrepreneur. I'm a business consultant. So I'm happy to engage with you, and hopefully you'll be able to learn something. So allow me to just get started with this conversation. I want to begin by saying that entrepreneurship is not for the faint-hearted. Entrepreneurship requires a lot of muscle in terms of your ability to take risks. Entrepreneurship is a space that requires you not to be afraid of failing. I can't count the number of business ideas that I have had, many of which I have failed or did not see the light of day. But the beauty about it is that over time, even as you fail, there's always something that you're learning. That's why somebody said you fail forward. So entrepreneurship is a space that requires you to be very courageous, to always boost your risk appetite for new ideas, new ventures, new ways of doing things. And I believe that with time, you begin to discover something that you can do and make money out of. Now, allow me to say something. I think many of us are in situations where we are stuck. Either you're in a job that you feel is not satisfying you, or you are doing a business that does not seem to be thriving. So a lot of what I'm going to share today is going to address very foundational issues around.
Come on.
Yes. Okay, so a lot of what I'm going to share today is are very foundational principles, foundational knowledge that will enable you to even take stock, or if you like, audit your business from an entrepreneurial perspective. Allow me to say this, that many times what we are complaining about could be just that business idea that we should be paying attention to. Recently, I posted on my timeline where I said that your potential is wrapped up in what you're currently complaining about. The problem many times is that as we complain, we almost imagine that somebody somewhere should come and fix what we are complaining about. But you see, your pain point may not be the pain point of another person. What you're passionate about may not be what somebody else is passionate about. What is disturbing you may not be disturbing somebody else. So there's a reason why even God in his wisdom has that issue bothering you. So some of us settle at it remaining a complaint, but some of us convert our complaints into business ideas. So that's just a small introduction. A bit of my journey into entrepreneurship is I've worked in the corporate sector, have an undergraduate degree in insurance and risk management. I worked for several insurance companies. Predominantly, I worked for Aon Kenya, which is the largest insurance broker in the world, multinational, where I gained a lot of experience. Shortly after, I felt a bit bored of the routine nature of insurance. I decided to change industry. I worked for a Japanese vehicle inspectorate company. Cut the long story short, my contract with them ended when they lost their contract with the Kenya Bureau of Standards. Now, that left me jobless. Now, I remember a time when I sat with my wife in the sitting room, and we asked ourselves, what can we do? So I had acquired some motorbikes and some tricycles, which were parked outside. And at that point, when I was still employed, I was very good at giving people ideas. I was brilliant. You know, you would come to me and I would tell you, do this, start this. And some of us are very good at giving people entrepreneurial ideas. But if you look at it more critically, you realize you yourself hardly start anything. So I had given a business idea to a friend of my wife's on how she could do snack delivery to the offices. So we decided, okay, I have motorbikes. So what do we do? Let's do snack delivery to offices. And we realized that some of the upmarket areas like Upper Hill, Westlands, it was very difficult for the middle class, lower income categories of people to access affordable snacks, like chapati, samosa, you know, what you find in those areas are the Javas and, high-end areas that, a chapati could be 100 shillings. So, so how do you bypass that and offer affordable snacks and meals to that category of people? It was through delivery, and that is what we were seeking to address. So the business started off, we called it Letter Snacks, and we did well, but what we were generating was not able to sustain our needs in Nairobi. So we decided to, after some consultation, move to Nairobi to see, because Nairobi, the cost of living was lower, and we decided, okay, let's go and try it out in Kitale and see. But what I did not know was that the purpose of that first business that I did was more or less to arouse my interest in entrepreneurship, but also to give me first-hand experience on what it meant to start something and see the light of day. Basically, you sell and you see money coming in. So that was a very important lesson, so that now when we were starting Raison Schools with our colleagues, our risk appetite, our fear of failure was more or less to some extent already dealt with. And that's why it is important to try. It's important to fail, because your failure today could be what will strengthen you for the next victories that you experience. It could be where you draw wisdom, where you draw knowledge, where you draw expertise for your next venture. So as much as you may see it as failure, that business has played a role in terms of teaching you something, equipping you with relevant skills that will enable you do the next business venture better. So allow me to say this, that I would like to maybe put out two main pillars of a great business idea. And before I say that, let me just basically define entrepreneurship. So entrepreneurship is basically identifying a problem in the society and coming up with a solution to solve that problem. So it's not a vague, entrepreneurship is not vague. It is scientific. It has to be able to address a real need that exists. So if you're talking about starting a hotel or starting a bakery, you're not just imagining that people need bread. You're coming from a place of information that in the area you live, there's a problem with people accessing affordable meals or access to fresh bread and etc. etc. So you have to come from a place of information or research, if you like, that now would inform that sort of undertaking. So allow me to say that there are two main ingredients of a great business idea. And one of them is that the business idea has to improve the livelihoods of people. any great idea will seek to address or improve the livelihood of people. Let me tell you, Safaricom is not the most profitable company in the region by accident. It is because me and you know today, if your mom called you from the village and told you that she has run out of food, the next thing you'd do is go to your M-Pesa and send her money. Now, that goes without saying that M-Pesa has made life better. So it's not by accident. It's not by chance. It's not, and look at it on the flip side. Look at the betting industry. At some point, it looks like it was really thriving, really doing well. But what happened? You began to see governments closing on them and shutting them down and slapping them with huge taxes and regulations here and there. So you look at it even in the alcohol industry. Look at it in the companies that manufacture cigarettes. They because some of these companies don't improve livelihoods, so they become targets of heavy taxation, of very punitive measures to sort of slow down their growth. But companies that seek, or businesses that seek to improve livelihoods, I always say this, that God will always throw his weight behind a business that seeks to improve the lives of people. So I don't know whether the owners of Safaricom are believers. I don't know. But what I know is that they are the most profitable company in the region. So that is why you will see people who are not even people of the faith, who have ideas that are solving real problems and making the livelihoods of people better, thriving and making sort of billions of shillings, if you like. So I've said number one is that business has to improve the livelihoods of people. Number two is that the idea has to be scalable. What does that mean? When you say an idea has to be scalable, the idea has to be investable, if you like, or has to have the capacity to grow into a multi-million business, so to speak. It has to have the capacity to absorb investment. If you're talking about a business, ask yourself today, if I gave you $1 million, can that business absorb that kind of funding? Can it absorb that kind of funding? So I think sometimes we are so limited in the way we think that we don't strategically start businesses that are able to absorb capital in the midterm and also in the long term. Some of us, because we don't think through this at the initial stage, we get to a point where the business plateaus because you probably did not assess the potential or the market share that business is likely to grow into. So I've said number one, it must improve the livelihoods of people. Number two, the idea has to be scalable, or has to be an idea that has the capacity to absorb investment. Now, allow me to break down some very misleading fallacies around entrepreneurship, which I believe will help you at breakthrough. Now, I'd like to sort of point out what entrepreneurship is not, because I have talked about what entrepreneurship is. So can we just demystify what entrepreneurship is not? Now, number one, adopting an idea because a friend seems to be doing well. I think that sounds very familiar. So I remember there's a time there was this crazy thing about quail eggs, and everyone everywhere was trying to keep those birds and trying to harvest the eggs. So what happened? Me and you know what happened. Before we realized what happened, I think everyone was keeping them and the price of the eggs dropped and made it uneconomical. So don't start an idea because you have observed that a friend is doing well. You don't know their source of capital. You don't know their skill sets. You don't know their passion. You don't know what they have gone through to get where they are. So don't merely just start a business. You see somebody is doing well because they have a hardware, and you think, okay, I think hardwares are quite profitable. There are things that I've realized as an entrepreneurship that you could admire outwardly, but not know the intricate details that are involved or associated to running that business. So you could just be reading 20% of what it takes to run that business, and 80% is hidden from your eyes. You're not seeing the fights with financial institutions, how he's navigating the market and challenges that he's experiencing with his staff turnovers and things. For you, you're just seeing, what looks glamorous from an external viewpoint. So don't start something because it seems you see a friend who seems to be doing well. Number two, randomly adopting a business venture. I told you entrepreneurship is a scientific process. You have to identify a problem that exists and you come up with a solution, a creative, innovative solution to solve that problem. So it's not something you just, you're dozing on your sofa and then you just all of a sudden just say, I'm starting a butcher. That's not the way you arrive at an idea. You'd find yourself burning your fingers seriously, because entrepreneurship is not witchcraft. It is something that is scientific. You have to rationally look at and see what it takes to start that business. Number three is doing what seems to be popular. Now, this populist approach of doing things is very dangerous because what is popular today might not be popular tomorrow. Popularity is not a sustainable approach because things change, trends change. So don't do something because it is just popular. Because in fact, many times what is likely to be popular may be something that could be quickly fading away. So be very cautious about what is popular at the moment so that you are not sucked into something that would end up sort of taking up your capital. Number four, doing something merely because it excites you. Now, what excites you might not be what excites somebody else. You might be so excited about, let me talk to the ladies, about certain types of boots, maybe because now the rainy season is here. But not every lady or not every woman in the vicinity that you operate is excited about boots the way you are. The market might be too small for you to make economic gain simply because you're excited about boots or you're excited about a certain type of sweater. You might be the only one in Italy who likes it. So you have to scientifically, you have to with a very open mind, as there are things you might find yourself selling that you yourself don't like. Okay. So you might like a certain line of fashion, for instance, that others don't like. The market may like something totally different that you actually don't like. So be cautious not to just go for what just simply excites you. Then lastly, but not least, starting a venture because it is convenient. Now, this is very important. Some of us find ourselves, a family member has, or our family has some space, a building that has some rooms where we can start business. And as a family, you sit down and you start distributing space, and you find yourself with some empty space, and you have to think, okay, what can I start here? And then you start a boutique because you have space. So what I have realized, some of the greatest ideas you can ever come up with will be wrapped up in situations that are not convenient. Let me say that again. Some of the greatest opportunities you can ever come up with will be wrapped up in situations that are not convenient. What does that mean? You find yourself not having adequate resources. You'll find yourself not having access to the kind of space and opportunities that that business might require. But why is that important? Is because this inconvenience sometimes can fuel creativity. Because if something does not exist, believe me, you'll think of how to figure it out. And that is where creativity now is born. If everything was laid out for you on the table, chances are you will not deploy the kind of creativity you deploy if you had limited resources, if the situation was not convenient. Now, allow me just to end those at that level and quickly get into the 7 steps. I'll try and brush through them as quickly as I can because of time, so that we can learn something. Just learn what you can learn and see how you can apply this into your personal journey. Now, there are 7 levels I would call in developing a business idea. And number 1, I would call idea generation. So how do you come up with an idea? How do you tell that this is a good idea? And I have some sort of points here that I would like to sort of put across to you for you to think. I don't want us to have an academic sort of perspective about what I'm sharing, but just look at it. How can you apply it in your own context? Now, how do you develop an idea? Number 1. So we are talking about idea generation. So some tips for you to think about: pain points. Remember at the earlier in my lesson, I talked about your potential being wrapped up in your complaining. Pay attention to what you're complaining about. What are you complaining about right now? That could just be a business idea. So pay attention to your pain points, the things that you're so passionate about, the things that you are frustrated about could just be indicators of some business ideas that you could be worth considering. Number 2, innovation. So this could be a service that you think should exist that is not in existence, or it could be something that is in existence but is not being offered efficiently. Okay, so it might require you to deploy, some innovation and creativity so that you can improve the situation. Number 3, passion. What are you passionate about? When you sit on your own, what is that burns so strongly in your heart? You see it almost vividly. What are you passionate about? All of us are made differently, and there are certain unique things that we are passionate about. Pay attention to your passion. Your passion is very important. What are you passionate about? What kind of results do you want to see? What do you find yourself talking about the most when you're with your friends? What is that you keep? That frustration, that passion, that desire to see change around your space. Pay attention to that. And that's why comparison is dangerous, because what you're passionate about may not be what your friend or somebody else is passionate about. Then lastly, research. So we said it's a scientific process. Find out. You find out that you are actually perceiving things correct. Find out, do really people need a butchery around where you're staying? Are they as frustrated as you are? So that you're coming from a place of information and you're even assessing the possible markets size of the environment that you're seeking to operate. So allow me, I'm just trying to really simplify this concept so that you can be able to understand. So level 2 or step number 2 in in your journey of starting your business is idea differentiation. Now, making our ideas stand out in a world full of great ones. Now, you must be very sober to recognize that we function in an economy or an ecosystem where there are many other great ideas. You're not a monopoly of ideas. Some of us come across like, you've met people who are saying, oh, start what the idea yangu, oh, you think you're just the only one thinking in this world. I assure you, there are so many great ideas out there. What is important is how you differentiate yourself. How do you differentiate yourself in the marketplace? Why should I come to you and not to this other one? What is it that gives you that cutting edge? What is that separates you from the crowd? What makes you stand out? Okay. So allow me to give you some tips around idea differentiation. Uniqueness. How unique is the idea? Number 2, marketing. How do you market? You've seen some companies and organizations, how they uniquely market their products. That goes a long way in you differentiating yourself. Number 3, competition. When we say competition, have the opportunity to benchmark. Go out, see people doing similar things. How are they doing it? So that as you come up with your idea, it is coming out from a differentiated point of view. And then lastly, product development. Begin to work on your product, scientifically, develop products and services based on market needs. So you're developing a product that is responding directly to the market needs. You are benchmarked, you found out where the gaps are, and now as you're developing your product, you're coming up with a product that is addressing the needs out there, okay? Number 3, idea positioning. Idea positioning. Find your unique space in the market. Now, this is a very important aspect because sometimes we get into business thinking we are going to take up the whole market. That is not a sober way to approach the market. The sober way to approach the market is find out what is your unique space in the market. Now, allow me to give you some quick tips that will give you an idea about what idea positioning is. What is your target market? Who is the target? Is this the high-end market? Is it the middle class? Is it the lower income? Is it a combination? Determine your pricing. There are certain people who will not buy shoes that are less than 10,000 shillings. As much as somewhere else, somebody might be selling the same kind of shoe for 1,000 shillings, but some people perceive value through pricing. So how do you differentiate? How do you position yourself in the market? Pricing could be an element. Determine your location. A business that is in the hub in Karen is very different from a business that is in Kolongolo here in Kitale. It goes without saying. A location speaks. There are certain people when they go to certain locations, they are happy to spend certain kinds of amount of money because of location. And of course, without saying it, real estate in high-end locations is higher. So people who host businesses there definitely are high-end businesses. Determine how you will deliver your service to suit your target market. How you deliver, the kind of excellence. If you go to Java, the way they deliver, the way they serve you is very different from when you go to just a mere hotel. Because it goes with the kind of amount of money they are charging. So they have to deliver the kind of service that a person paying that kind of amount of money would feel, yes, they are getting value. Okay. Then brand yourself accordingly. If you call yourself, for instance, Shikwekwe Enterprises, just the way it sounds, somebody might think you're just a local brand, somebody who just sells chicken somewhere here, you know, will not take you seriously. But if you give it a bit of a flashy name and a name that would appeal to that kind of market, up market, people are likely to think, wow, you sell premium chicken and that sort of thing. So how you brand yourself is very important. That's why you're seeing certain big brands on billboards. They have airtime on TV and they're able to advertise. Then establish your niche. Understand your niche. What is your niche? What is your edge? And be happy, be content with that, and pursue that with all your might. Okay, so that is idea positioning. Then there is number 4, idea funding. So many of us, I always say this, the best way to grow your business is organically. Some of us, the idea has not even left the ground, and yet we are looking for funding. We are rushing to the banks for loans. We are running left, right, center, asking people for money. The best thing to do is start where you are. Begin small. This is scripture in Zechariah chapter 4, where it says, who has despised small beginnings. Now, many times when you read that scripture, you almost think it is a scripture written to the poor. But it actually is talking about prudence. You can have $1 million, but doesn't mean you deploy $1 million when you're starting. It could mean that you start with only 10,000 shillings. See how the 10,000 shillings responds. See how the market responds to what you're offering. Get feedback from the market. Then as the business demands more, you deploy more, or even allow what you're generating from the business to sort of reproduce back into the business. Number 5, because of time, idea team. Now, it's very important that you have the right kind of team around you. Now, for me as a businessman, I've learned the hard way. Some of the most diligent, some of the most, what do you call them? Some of the most efficient, some of the most loyal employees you'll ever have are people who initially don't look like it. I'm very skeptical about people who come and look flashy and pedicure, manicure, looking very sharp and those sort of things. And I have no problem. Look sharp, that's okay. But I'm just telling you from my own experience, don't judge a book by the cover. Some of the guys who can be very loyal and some of the guys who would be very diligent in your business, initially when you look at them like this, they don't look like they fit the bill. So what am I saying? It requires a bit of more discernment and than just looking at people face value. Okay, level 6 or number 6, idea launch. It's time to take off. You have your place. So gradually roll out and monitor progress. Okay. When I talk about idea launch, start small. Start small. Just start by putting that 10,000. I was talking to another lady some time back, and she was saying, I want to start a mtumba business. And sometimes people think, oh, I need a stall. Get a bag and put your 3 blouses in that bag and start selling. Grow that 3 blouses into 5 blouses, into 6 blouses. Before you realize what is happening, you have a stall. But many of us want to start with a stall and not have the opportunity to learn the market and see actually even what you need to stock more. So you end up going for a bale, and then also only to realize people don't need a lot of what you took in that bale. So grow gradually, take feedback, keep improving your service delivery. It's easier to learn when you're small. It is easier for you to make mistakes when you're small. The bigger you are, the greater the magnitude of the mistakes you make. So make them when you're small. Don't try and bypass that process, because you'll be losing a very important part of your growth element. Then lastly, idea scale up. This is where now you're talking about investment. You're talking about now you've validated the business. You can tell this business is growing. People want what I am offering. So now you're posturing yourself for even funding, whether it is from the banks, whether it's from private investors or institutions. You're now posturing yourself now to grow, to take off, whether it is branches, whether it is increasing your stock levels and things like that. Now, I want to just end this by saying that that many times I talk to a number of young people who come and tell me, oh, try and get me an investor for my business and stuff like that. Now, assuming, let's say you want to start a chicken business, and you're saying you're looking for an investor. Now, let me ask you a question. Why would an investor need you? If I'm a multi-millionaire and you come to me and tell me to invest in your chicken business, why would I want to invest in your chicken business and not start my own? I have the money. So one of the most important aspects is the differentiating factor, the uniqueness of what you're offering. You must demonstrate to an investor that they need you, that they can't do it without you. That is why you must be an expert in your trade. You must be a student in your trade. You must know your numbers. You must, from your fingertips, you must know how much am I making out of this business? What is my turnover? What is the value of this business? That sort of thing. So there's a lot of conversations around this, but let me leave it at that place. And with your permission, Coach Oyugi, we can maybe take up some questions and then see how we can wrap it up from there.
Thank you. Wonderful sharing. Thank you so much for sharing those points. I was taking notes on the side on the chat for us to be able to follow all of us. So I just want to go through them again. Those levels are idea generation and idea differentiation, idea positioning, idea funding, idea team, idea launching, and scale up. Wonderful, wonderful thoughts there if you have something you want to convert into a business venture. If you have any questions, this is the time. You can either unmute yourself and speak directly on the microphone, or you can text them on the chat, and Marsden will be able to respond to them. Anyone wants to go first?
Can I go first?
Yes, you can.
My question is on the principles of a good idea. Marsden talked about has the impact to improve people's lives, but again, I have a question on this. There's the risk of holding people hostage with what you've created. So in essence, you haven't. I don't think you've improved their lives. You've just changed them in a sense, because I mean, look at something like Amazon. Amazon is not that it improves people's lives per se. It's only that they have a large maybe subscription where they can use them as bargaining chip for funding that does not even benefit the people it serves. I mean, look at something like Blue Moon. Blue Moon was born out of the success of Amazon. Does Blue Moon benefit everyone? No. I mean, it only serves Bezos' interests. So I'd like him to explain the point of improving people's lives minus having people caged into a product, because sometimes you find, like for Safaricom, they have maybe they reduce the amount of bundles, but they increase the amount of money that they charge. So isn't that caging the product user? So yeah.
Yeah, thank you for for asking that question. Now you must understand that these big corporations have they are strategic. Um, they don't just do things. You see, they are governed by certain regulatory requirements. You know, talking about maybe like Safaricom has had issues around dominance. Things like that that have played out. So they have been forced, even as a result of regulatory pressure, to come up with innovative ways of rising above that. So this is not to say, when you say improving the lives of people, it's not to say that some companies here and there might be mischievous or might want to take advantage of its clientele and make more money. But the truth is, which business wouldn't want to make more money given the opportunity? Every company, I was telling somebody the other day, is that the market share, like right now, if you look at telecommunication, and maybe there are maybe like 5 or 6 players in the telecommunication space. If you look at it critically, ask yourself, there's only so much of a market share for these telecommunication companies to respond to. How will they make a case in terms of convincing their shareholders that they are still going to make additional profit than last year? So some of them, what are they doing? They are looking at lowering their operating costs. That might require using technology to replace people. It's happening in the banking sector, where now ATMs are taking the places of tellers. So there is strategy that is involved, and some of these big players are operating at very complex ecosystems where there's a lot of competition, there's a lot of regulatory scrutiny that is causing them to function in a way that may appear sometimes to the client to not be acting in their favor. So I think I just look at it from that perspective, that provided as a business, in a general sense, you are improving the lives of people. I think me and you cannot argue the fact that M-Pesa has changed the economic or the financial landscape in Kenya, and it's recognized globally. Now, whether Safaricom is may not be sort of satisfying all parameters, that's a discussion for another day. But in a general sense, I think we are saying that a good business will respond to the needs, real needs of people, to improve them.
Thank you. Answered.
Any other question, you can either write it or just speak directly.
If you have a business idea, let's say you're thinking about, you can throw it in and say, okay, I'm thinking of starting this business. What do you think? We can brainstorm. Feel free,
Hi, Marsden.
Hi.
Yes, good evening, everyone. My name is Janet. I'm in Kitale. I'm in Kiminini specifically. We have a business idea. I'm in charge of a poultry union in Trans Nzoia. We've done a concept for a cuckoo project that we want to run to help our poultry farmers to enterprise their poultry businesses. because we've just been living with chicken, and yet the market is huge. They say there's no poultry, and then the farmers say there's no chicken. So in between there, we've seen, like, as a cooperative, we have a job to do to show the farmers where the market is, and we have done that. We've gotten the market, and we also have input supply for the farmers for quality, so that we can also improve what the farmers are producing for the kind of market that is there. So my point is that I would need help at, we have a concept paper that we want to do for the whole of Trans Nzoia, because we have primary cooperatives are 6, and we want to, the farmers who can actually do this project on their own farms, but we give them the market, we show them where to sell together, but everyone does it on their own farm. Is there a possibility that you can help us go through our concept paper and also just fine tune it to be able to suit the business that can improve the livelihoods of poultry farmers in Trans Nzoia?
Yeah, certainly. We can, through Coach Isaiah, who has my contacts, we can find a way of having that conversation. I'd like to commend you about what you're doing. There's tremendous benefit in numbers. There's tremendous opportunities for economies of scale with numbers. Just from the top of my head, very important to think about sustainability from the perspective of how the organization, the engine, will keep running even as the farmers benefit from the whole sort of arrangement. So I'm happy to have more detailed conversation. Maybe you can just schedule with Pastor Isaiah and we can see how to have that conversation.
Any other question? Anyone who has any question or any comment or a business idea like Marsden has said that we can interrogate?
Yes, I have one.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, first of all, thank you very much, Mr. Marsden. You have really got a very wonderful presentation. I'm really one of the person who have benefited from being paranoid. Those who are paranoid really survive amidst the competitive market environment for the current world. So my thinking is, what if you might spot some different opportunities within the current business you are doing, and you might find that it is giving you some good margin. What about that? Is it good to keep going it, concentrating it more? What about you might deviate away from your current activity?
Yeah, that's an important question. You know, I go back to Safaricom. So there's a concept called intrapreneurship. There's entrepreneurship and there's intrapreneurship. Intrapreneurship is entrepreneurship within the business or within the organization. So one of the things you realize about Safaricom, they have really invested on the creative boardroom, so to speak. So you'll always see, you know, Airtel and the rest really chasing Safaricom's creativity. When they think M-Pesa Sasa is what we need to develop, these guys have introduced Lipa and M-Pesa. Before they are dealing with Lipa and M-Pesa, these guys they are talking about other things, about interbank and things. So when you are ahead in terms of innovation, you get ahead of the market and you keep your competitive edge. And you also have chances of growing your market share more aggressively than if you just stayed the place where you began. Now, something you have mentioned that is very important that I've observed in Kitale is that we are now getting into the season of planting and things like that. So you'll see somebody who runs a bookshop now beginning to stock seedlings and fertilizer. For me, from my standpoint, that is one of the most dangerous things you can do. I don't care how convincing it looks, how you will tell me there's a market for this and people are buying this. You're just losing focus of your business. So there's the opportunity to diversify within the business, but in a way that relates to the business, so that you don't find yourself tying your capital on things that are seasonal at the expense of this business that needs to keep going when the season is over. So that diversification should be within the parameters of that existing business. That creativity and innovation should be within that context, so that you don't find yourself suffering. Now you don't have cash flow to buy books. They are now revised books that now the KICD is releasing, or publishers are releasing, but not because you've tied your money on a bolea. You've gone to the bank, got an overdraft, telling them your bookshop needs money, only for you to use the money from the overdraft to buy mbolea. Then you realize, okay, the price at which you're selling the mbolea is not as competitive as the guys who are really in the game. So you find yourself again, it was a waste of time. You should have just stayed on your course. So diversify, but within the context of the business that you operate.
Masaidika, Henry.
Kabisa Saidi tena.
Asante, asante. Okay, so we are getting on top of the hour. Anyone who has any more questions, you can actually ask them now.
Yeah, maybe another one. As maybe someone is planning to expand, and how long should someone really take, as maybe you are hoping to maybe close the gaps, or some time you find yourself you are pumping some money. How long should someone maybe do that for some time, then maybe re-strategize or do something like that? Yeah, because you might be having a certain idea, and you are trying to scale it up, but it is taking time to scale up, but the potential is there. Maybe the strategies or something is not working somewhere, for you by that time. How long should someone stay persisting, and what about the flow that you are putting in marketing?
Yeah, I think that's a very important question. You see, like let me take you a few years back when Mega Center had just been constructed, and there was a lot of excitement, and people went in, people took loans, took up very expensive space within Mega Center, and cut the long story short, you see how it looks today. In fact, I went there the other day. They are now subdividing the spaces into very small sort of shops where people can take up smaller space. But that was a time when people were taking big spaces of, paying 90,000 shillings a month. So you can imagine, Henry, you've just started a business at that time. Your rent is about 90,000 shillings a month. And you hardly have a customer walk into your business, even just to make an inquiry in a day. So what does that mean? You seriously need to think, was it even wise in the first place to take up a space at that cost? So that's what I'm saying. Prudence requires many times you begin from the lowest point possible. Before you think of taking a place in Mega Center, can you look for a small container somewhere outside there and test your concept? Don't be so quick to begin in a big way, so that it becomes very difficult, Henry, for you to sustain it now for 6 months or so from your pocket. It should be something that, even if possible, these days is online. If possible, don't even open a shop. Do online first. Do whatever you can. Start at the lowest point. Test the market first to establish that the market needs what you're offering. Then from there, let the business demand that capacity that now you'll be willing to now deploy more, so that now that the additional resources you're giving are now going directly into growth.
I have a question.
Yes, please.
When you have a business and it's a small business, you started small, but it is kind of growing, and you are feeling like you want to expand or maybe scale it out, but there are fears that you have about is it going to succeed when I scale it out? Am I going to be able to pay, for example, more rent because where I am is a small place? Am I going to have faithful workers? How do you beat that kind of fear so that you can be able to scale out?
Yeah, that's a good question. You said your name is?
Carol.
Carol.
Caroline.
That's an important question, because, okay, you could have a business that is generating. It's generating something, you're growing. You can see the money coming in, you're selling, and there is progress that you can note, okay? But there comes a time, certain moments in your entrepreneurial journey or running of your business, where you have to take additional risks associated to the growth of that business. And that sometimes involves, like now you've seen, you're outgrowing the space where you are running your business. So now the risk element could be, I need additional space. Now that is not a very comfortable thing to do. It is not something that you'll just do without thinking. You're thinking, okay, now, can I handle double the rent? Can I handle double the stock? Can I handle double the personnel? So those are considerations to make, but they come from being honest with yourself and saying, okay, how much have I been making? Am I making profit? Is the market really as big as I can see it? You ask yourself those hard questions, but now you must put yourself together now to take risks. Otherwise, what you find yourself, you don't take additional risks, you find yourself plateauing. And that's what many business people have found themselves here in Kitale. You find 10 years, 15 years, they are same place, doing the same thing. They look the same as you saw them 15 years ago, because they have not challenged themselves that they could do what they are doing at a bigger scale.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Do we still have any other question? Well, if there's none, I would like to invite maybe the final comment by Marsden, like a parting shot for us tonight, something we can think through as we come to a close. Karibu sana ndugu.
Yeah, so I just want to say this. One of the greatest impediments you will face in business is fear. Whether you are a beginner, you have never done business before, or whether you are in business right now, one of the biggest impediments is fear. I want to challenge each and everyone listening to me this evening. Do not be afraid of failure. Some of the people you are seeing doing the greatest things right now in the world, if they just listed down the number of failures they have experienced, you'll be shocked. We love the glamour of the success, but we don't take account the failures that have led to that glamour. So my encouragement to you is, do not be afraid, take risks. And when you fail, get back on your feet, take another risk. And when you fail, get back on your feet, take another risk. Before you realize what is happening, you'll be doing great things in this world.
Amazing. Wow. Take risk, my friend. Yeah, nothing is comes like that. Take risk. Thank you so much. I think this was very good for me. A very good reminder to not be afraid to just step out and do what I feel in my heart that I should be able to do. Thank you everyone for being here tonight. If you want to make a comment, please do. If you want to have Marsden help you with your business idea or consult for you, I think Marsden, you can actually go ahead on the chat there to just put your contacts there, and someone can actually reach out to you. Just know that when you reach out to Marsden outside of this platform, please pay him. When we invite him here, we invite him for free. But if you call him after this to ask him for a business idea or a business knowledge, please pay him for it. It would be very good to do that. So yeah, but he's a wonderful consultant. So I want to encourage all of you to reach out to him for your businesses. It will make a very, very big difference for you. If you have any questions for Marsden, the number is there. Please reach out to him. He didn't tell you this, but he's also a very wonderful landscaper. The best in Trans Nzoia County. If you are looking for someone to help with landscaping, please reach out to him. You'd really, really be glad you did so. I also want to encourage you to take your children to Raison School. Raison Schools, for me, is also the best place to take children. All my children go to Raison School. I want to encourage you as we open this new term, if you have a baby who can go to school, take them to Raison School, okay?